Hey guys, welcome back, and today we're going to be continuing with our look at the S24 Ultra. This time it's a full-on battery test against its slightly older brother, last year's S23 Ultra, putting both phones through their paces as if they were being used on a normal day. And if you're interested in either one of these Samsung phones, it's more than likely you want to see how well it does with media consumption, with maybe a secondary focus around the cameras themselves. So here, with this test, I'm going to be heavily focusing on these two areas. Now with both phones connected to the same Wi-Fi network and set to a similar brightness and volume setting, let's jump straight into round 1, kicking things off with some Android customization. For this, I'm going to head over to my very own custom live wallpaper app, Epic Live Wallpapers, and apply one of my own animations, which of course you guys can also grab up if you want. And hey, nothing wrong with a little self-promotion here and there. Now early in the morning, I can't help but get my fix of some social media, so lying in bed, one of the first apps that I always visit, Instagram, and just simply browsing through, 30 minutes in and there's a 2% gap starting to emerge. Of course, it's way too early to declare a winner, so let's move over to some longer format content and see what happens, courtesy of YouTube. Now, just in case you guys haven't noticed already, let me just point out that both phones on paper have 5000 milliamp batteries, which means the true difference in this test is going to come one from the displays themselves, and secondly that change up in chipset. I mean, obviously radio antennas and stuff like that might also play a part as well, but I guess we'll find out. Now both phones do bring an amazing AMOLED display, with last year's model coming in at 1440 by 3088 and the brand new S24 with its longer screen at 1440 by 3120. Now regardless of which one you go for, you're gonna be happy. I mean, having said that, personally, I do kinda think the S24 is a bit more washed out, and despite darker blacks, there is some level of detail lost. Now how about we round off the first hour with some Facebook and TikTok. Now at this point, the gap has grown ever so slightly by about 4%, with the S23 now in the high 80s, whereas the S24 just about hanging on to the 90s. Now how about for the second hour, we go for a longer 40-minute media consumption with all the videos playing at maximum settings of 4K, followed by some light gaming. Starting things off a little light with a couple rounds of Subway Surfer. Okay, cut me some slack, it's two phones at once, come on, you guys try it, it's harder than it looks. Followed by a Rail Racing 3, which is not only going to have a massive 1GB download, but we're also going to use it to push the GPU temps, keeping that 3D rendered level running for a while. Oh, and did I forget? Both of them are set to the maximum 120Hz refresh rate for the smoothest experience possible. And after the short half-an-hour gaming session, surprisingly, we're still near enough at the same exact spot. Both phones have lost 8%, keeping them in line with where they were at. No real change. And even as we repeat this, taking it to 3 hours, you would assume that Samsung would have used the AI to boost the battery performance. But if anything, the gap between them has shrunk by a percentage. At this point, I'm starting to believe it's actually just battery degradation which is causing that percentage difference. But let's carry on. Let's push the phones even harder with some 8K video recording, which in theory should push both CPUs to the max. Speaking of which, the brand new S24 comes in with the top of the range Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, which of course brings that periodic step up in clock speed. But this time around, they've also distributed the cores ever so slightly different, so more of them are focused on that higher end performance, which in theory should cause the phone to use more power. Well, I guess I was wrong. Surprisingly, after 30 minutes of 8K recording, both of them in line have lost 15%, which at least means overall they're both handling video encoding in a very similar manner, with efficiency being near enough the same. Now at 4 hours and 10 minutes, the S23 loses round 1, with this year's phone still holding a lead of 9%. Now how about we ramp things up a bit more in round 2 with quickly jumping between social media apps, a couple different games, both light and heavy, followed by 8K video recording, and why not a quick visit back into the jungle. And to be honest, using both phones side by side like this, I don't really miss the curved edge. I thought I would, but no. That super high quality screen of the S24 really does distract you from a prominent Samsung feature being removed. To be fair, personally, I kind of do prefer that sharper angular look. But hey, continuing with the test. With all of those different degrees of apps squeezed within a single hour, the S23 has now dropped to 34%, with the S24 now at 47%. That's roughly about another 15 or 16% for the S24. But this time, for the S23, that was a massive 21% drop. I don't know, I guess that gaming and camera 1-2 combo really took its toll. But I'm not done pushing the phones just yet. I think it's about time we took things to a whole nother level. Using 3D Mark stress test, a 20-minute intensive game render, pushing the phone's RAM, CPU, read-write speeds, and GPU to the limit. And because it is literally 20 minutes of straight stress, I wouldn't be surprised if one of them dies. 10% loss on the 23 and 11 on the 24? It's very odd. So that switch up in GPU, even if it is clocked in a bit higher this year, really hasn't made a difference in battery draw. So with still another 21% left on the S23, how about we try that 1-2 punch again? And there we have it. In half an hour, with that combo of apps, it killed off 21% from the S23. Yet somehow the S24 still has 21% left. So there you have it, the clear winner here is the S24, but how long will it actually last? Let's find out. Almost an hour and 23 minutes later, the brand new S23 Ultra is finally dead. Now, despite both of them having the same 5000 mAh battery, putting that to one side, the S24 Ultra does have the newer, more efficient Snapdragon chip, a 90% larger vapor cooling system, and of course, it's backed up with the power of AI. Of course it was going to win, right? Now, God knows if the AI actually makes a difference here, but personally I kind of do doubt it. I don't think they've implemented it system-wide, I think just a few areas that they've highlighted. Regardless, in my opinion, I do think it's the package as a whole, to be fair. Not only does it come with faster CPU cores, but combined with that brand new cooling system, it can stay running at its highest settings for much longer, without the deterioration in performance and efficiency that the S23 was probably experiencing. And I think it's quite evident when we look at those sessions where we're doing back-to-back gaming, video recording, and then returning back to gaming. The S23 really struggled. It lost the most amount of battery there, so it's probably still drawing in the same amount of power, but performance wise it was getting worse and worse as time went on. And of course, with the whole system running quite hot, there's energy being lost in the form of heat. I mean, I'm no scientist, but you know, it all makes sense, right?
I am a scientist. It's so cool.
I mean, all in all, both phones are pretty good. Both phones will definitely last you a normal day's usage. But which one would you guys go for? The cheaper S23 Ultra or the AI powered new kid on the block, the S24 Ultra?